right, welcome everybody. We're going to get started in a minute. We're across the world, so bear with us if any technical difficulties happen. But we're so excited for our third Zooming Out. It's the third in a series of 6. We're meeting with global grads. They've all been incredibly interesting, and we're really fortunate to have Sarah Gogel with us today. She's class of 13. And she's accomplished already an incredible amount in her short career. So I'm happy to be able to talk to her about that. We're going to view some slides. Sarah, welcome.
Thank you, Mielle. Thanks for having me today.
I should say bonjour, ça va?
Ça va, merci. On peut parler en français si vous voulez.
I only speak a tiny little bit of French. I had it in high school. I have a very French name. I should speak more. I was never able to study abroad. I wish I had that chance, but this will be really fun, and we're going to learn a little bit about your life abroad. So first, I'm going to give you some background on Sarah and share a little bit about her biography. She's class of 13, as mentioned. She's a Franco-American social entrepreneur, a human rights advocate and lecturer. Her life's work has been devoted to transforming life pathways of youth and marginalized populations, such as refugees from rural and urban communities around the world through immersive social impact experiences. Her results have been recognized through awards and grants from the European Network for Global Education, Ariana de Rothschild, and the International Youth Foundation, and she received the National Order of Merit in 2021. It was awarded by the President of France, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. She founded and presides over the Paris-based nonprofit Akademia, otherwise known as YAKA, I believe, for an acronym. She currently, this was after a successful experience in international social entrepreneurship. And yes, Akademia has operations in France, India, Senegal, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Tunisia. YAKA has increased the graduation rates, college enrollment, and career growth of its over 2,500 youth alumni, which is amazing. She also lectures on these topics and themes at Sciences Po and Paris 8, and supports women-led causes and sustainable solutions to poverty and inequality through her volunteer work and long-term consultancies with NGOs and INGOs, such as Mission d'Aide au Développement des Économies Rurales, Madeira, for short, the Organisation Internationale de la Francophonie, United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, the International Federation for Human Rights, the Federation of American Women's Clubs Overseas, and the American Red Cross. Her degrees include a BA from Harvard College in sociology, an MA in sustainable international development from Brandeis, which was a dual degree with Newzel, and an MSW from Wurzweiler School of Social Work, and a JD from Northeastern. So that is quite the background. And you, as I said, have accomplished so much already. We're going to take a peek at some slides and just have you give us a little bit of background. Here you have her bio at a glance, which gives you a little bit of background. Tell us what's happening in this image.
Thanks, everyone. So this actually, and we're going to be going back and forth in some of the pictures, but this was a picture I wanted to share most recently from a trip in the south of France in the Cévennes forest back in July, where we collaborated between Yes Akademia and the NGO that Mielle mentioned, that I work for today full-time, Madeira, Mission d'aide au développement des économies rurales. And it was a project, and you'll see a lot of this in different slides, where we do an immersion trip. And this one was the collaboration between Yes Akademia with the French youth from the inner cities and youth from Madeira, who tend to be asylum seekers and or refugees. And so we spent 3 weeks in an eco village in the Cévennes, and learning how to cut wood, as you see, and do all sorts of other projects between refugees and French youth. And so this was an example of these types of immersion trips that we carry out, that I tend to have been doing since the last 15 years in the US, and then the other countries that Mielle mentioned, and now in France, which we clearly developed with COVID, or let's say thanks to COVID, which made us kind of go more local in a lot of ways.
Wow. When you say immersion, can you explain that just a little bit more?
Yeah, of course. Immersion, it's more of a pedagogical concept that we've developed over time, which speaks for itself, but it's a way to kind of really live fully different experiences in different sites. So internationally, typically it's in actual rural villages, but it can also be in cities. It's just basically living fully new types of experiences, with kind of being cut as well from technology, because so that we optimize the experience.
Right.
And so these immersion trips are very useful in that sense for many people, but including youth who tend to maybe have had difficult experiences, and who wish to kind of renew and reset the button.
Right. Next slide. Roland Garros.
So this was Mielle also asking me for most recent pictures. So, and that when we first talked, I also thought of sharing this, because as you will also see in the next slide, we have a lot of opportunities that come up for our beneficiaries, for the youth that I work with in many capacities. And so I sometimes take advantage also by going to these different events that were proposed for youth mainly. And Roland Garros is a famous tennis area.
Yes.
And so right in Paris, and so I was there in June for a nice match with Nadal.
Oh, one of my favorites. I'm a huge tennis fan. So I was able to do this once in life a long time ago in the 80s, go to this match. And I've been to the US Open and love tennis. So very fun. All right. Now what are we looking at? Besides
So
a gorgeous picture of you.
I mean, you asked me for pictures of me.
Yeah.
So
Good.
so this is, I hope you see the logo in the back. It says l'ascenseur. It means elevator, and it's a new kind of collective movement since the last 2 years that regroups 20 different NGOs focused on equality of opportunities mainly for youth, and access to quality education. It's situated at Bastille in Paris, central Paris, and so I'm often over there because for Akademia, that has its headquarters at l'Ascenseur since the beginning, and we're founding members of l'Ascenseur, and I'm on the board of directors as well of l'Ascenseur. So and we were celebrating our 3-year anniversary there back in June. So it's a really powerful movement, and I thought that it was important to share. And well, you might know Bastille; it's really central in Paris. I used to live not far away from Bastille.
Which was convenient, probably.
Super convenient.
Great. Here's an actor I like.
Me too, definitely. And again, one of the many opportunities that come up for youth, and that I don't go to all of them, but some of them I choose, notably this one. And it was a really interesting moment, because Forrest Whitaker was in France in the month of May. I think he hadn't traveled since COVID. It was his first trip abroad, and he has what maybe a lot of people don't know as much, but a foundation that he created alongside an amazing woman who's based at UNESCO in Paris. So they co-founded this NGO together called the Forrest Whitaker Peace Initiative. And so they're seeking to, and they're kind of all over the world doing a lot of youth empowerment, mainly in former war zones, a lot in guerrilla warfare as well, working with youth. And so they're seeking to open up offices in France and kind of replicate their pedagogy, and we were discussing that, and he had a moment as well where he was talking with the youth from Yes Academia as well as youth from l'Ascenseur, from other NGOs, and so I was moderating the discussion with him. So I tend to kind of be starstruck, but especially with people like Forrest Whitaker. It was great to know more about his foundation as well, and so crossing
Yeah.
fingers that we'll be able to develop projects with him.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. So thank you for sharing that about him. So here we have a number of photos, which I was happy to receive, and I'm looking forward to hearing about them.
Yeah, so these kind of after fact, I thought of making this collage because it's true. It kind of speaks to the beginning of Yes Academia in France, when we were called Global Potential, because I had co-founded the NGO in New York back in 2007, and then opened up the NGO in Boston while at Northeastern Law School. And so that's a whole story. I can answer questions if you're interested. But throughout my 4 years in Boston, doing the dual degree with the Heller School of Social Policy at Brandeis as well, it allowed me in parallel to really develop the organization. And then in 2012, I moved back to France to do an exchange project with Sciences Po Law School, with, of course, Northeastern Law School.
Hmm.
And it was the first time I think we carried that out.
Yes.
And so that was
What
kind
was
of
the
the
name of the law school again, Sarah?
Sciences Po. That's where I teach as well,
Okay.
Sciences Po Law School, and I believe Northeastern Law School still has a partnership there. It was the beginning of the law school at Sciences Po as well. So kind of beginning pilot project that worked well. So I spent a semester there, and during the semester I was opening up the organization in France, as well as doing my final co-op at UNHCR in Calais in the north of France. So it was a very busy schedule, but as you might discover about my way of being, I do a lot of projects at the same time, which I'm passionate about. And you can see here on the top right picture, a woman, Nikki Borowski, who's an alumni from Northeastern Law School, who also really helped me open up Global Potential, as we were called before, in France. And so I wanted to also share that because Northeastern was definitely part of the process throughout. She was interning at a famous law firm that helps Yes Academia still up to today, called Proskauer. And
Mhm.
so she's a really great alumni from Northeastern Law School and a friend of mine. You can see in the picture. On the top picture is a cocktail party that we carried out in the beginning years of Global Potential Yes Academia in France, with two famous actors uh, who were part of the organization, and Nikki Borowski as well is in that picture. Top left and on the bottom, you see kind of how we were doing our first partnership with a city called La Courneuve, kind of the equivalent in our psyches, at least, of when we talk about Harlem in the US. We of course everyone knows Harlem, and in France kind of everyone knows La Courneuve, kind of the same types of possible positive and negative connotations. And so in any case, that was the first city that we partnered with, and the youth. And so I wanted to share some of that with you. And in the panel, you see the human rights. A lot of topics that we broach throughout the programs that Yes Academia does are related to human rights issues, so that youth, and making them accessible to youth.
Great.
And here are other pictures to kind of show you Paris and ways that the NGO kind of gets involved in being in really interesting sites. So we carry out every year diploma graduation ceremonies. Not every year we're at l'Élysée, that you see in the bottom left, where with the former French president François Hollande, but it happened to be that in 2012
Wow.
we were invited there and with the youth. And on the top left, you see a picture of the youth at the graduation ceremony at the Sénat, at the French Senate. And also we're often invited to the Assemblée Nationale. And in the top middle picture is a picture of a graduation ceremony at the U.S. Embassy of France.
Oh, wow.
And they were partners as well and continue to invite us a lot at their different events. So the beginnings of Yes Academia in France was a grant that we received from the French ministry and the French Foreign Ministry in Washington, D.C. That sponsored partnerships between French and US NGOs. So that's kind of how we opened up in France initially. Then the US Embassy of France got interested, of course, in what we were doing.
Wow, you just do a little bit of everything and working with all different groups and leadership, which is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's been doing this collage it was fun to kind of review the past few years. And this, well, it's not France, it's a picture that you can see the Senegalese flag, but it's kind of representative of part of the programs, immersion programs that I was mentioning before, of what we do when we go to rural villages to kind of get outside the comfort zone of youth, partner with different NGOs on the local level, and work on development issues. And so Senegal was one of the first countries that the French branch of the NGO worked with. And
What are they on, Sarah?
They're on these canons. How do you say
Cannon?
Cannons.
Yeah.
On a famous island called l'Île de Gorée in Senegal, where former slaves were sent, and so a very representative site, and that became historical site where a lot of tourists go, but local students and youth go as well to remember.
It looks beautiful in the middle right picture.
And yeah, that's the Île de Gorée. Indeed, it's really beautiful and very intense and very powerful to remember.
Sure.
And on the bottom right is a picture of one of my best friends from Northeastern Law School, Emily Cochrane. Again, I wanted to kind of bring that in. And
yes.
When I got married in 2016, I met my husband in Senegal, so the connections with the pictures.
Wonderful. Congratulations.
Well, I didn't get married in Senegal. I
okay.
got married in France, but we met in Senegal for the first time. And I think this is the final collage page.
Yes, I have much curiosity about the shoe.
It was to share with you a shoe that I just recently bought for my sister's upcoming wedding in San Francisco. As Mielle mentioned, I'm Franco-American, so I have some of my family that's still in the US. And I bought these nice, beautiful shoes. I hope my sister will appreciate for my daughter, who's 3.5 years old, from the Bon Marché, which is the picture on the top right, a famous shopping spot that's near where I now currently live, which is to the top left, Montparnasse, so in the south of Paris. And in the bottom left picture is where I used to live, near République. Like I was saying, it's not far from Bastille. It's a picture of the Gilets jaunes, the yellow jacket movement, right before COVID hit, which a lot of you probably saw in the press as well. It was the beginning of kind of the downfall of these past few years of how things have been quite challenging in France, but I know all around the world as well. And on the bottom right picture is where I used to live, near République, at the Canal Saint-Martin, also famous for, as you can see here, no one was wearing masks at one point, and a lot of youth hang out there. But now we're much better, and I think in a lot of big cities, I think in Paris is doing much better than New York, for example, and Boston.
Happy to hear that for you.
Yeah.
Beautiful pictures, and I'm happy to hear about upcoming weddings and exciting things. So it's nice to hear. So
I just want to say that one of the participants I see online, apart from my family members, is Alex Tarzikan, who did her internship at Yes Akademia in France a few years ago, and he's a Northeastern Law School alumni. Hi,
Ah,
Alex.
that's fun. Lots of connections.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you. Great to see you.
Yeah, well, I don't see you, but great to see you online.
So next part of our conversation is just a Q&A, kind of back and forth with you and I. And you've dipped your toe a little bit into some of these, but let's go in a little bit more in depth. So first off, my question is, what drew you to Newzel to obtain your JD degree? What brought you to us originally?
Definitely, as you can imagine from my past, the public interest aspect was key, and the co-op, the co-ops that were offered were essential, given my learning style and what I was seeking. I had been to social work school before for a few years with my MSW, and I was really seeking kind of in the field a community of engaged students and professors, and that clearly allowed me to have that level of flexibility to even at one point carry out one of my co-ops with the NGO that I mentioned, Global Potential. And so all of that level of flexibility and engagement and public interest was essential. And Emily Cochrane was who became one of my best friends, was also in my class and influenced me to sign up.
Hey, Emily.
Yes.
So you mentioned one of your co-ops, but what else did you study that you did at Northeastern that you brought back with you to your NGOs? What were like some of your favorite classes that were the most applicable? Describe a little bit about your time at Northeastern Law.
Yeah, well, one of the classes that I took was one with on U.S. education law with Sarah Redfield. And that really allowed me to explore different issues in U.S. education law, and like with No Child Left Behind and the charter school movements, which I wasn't familiar with initially. I also took a really cool class with Lee Jutek, the International and Foreign Legal Research class, which was really useful to delve into specific research that really interested me in the international law as it related to the NGOs and the regions which I was operating in. Trying to think of other, well, I carried out an independent study with Daniel Schaefer, who allowed me to really find the legal structure for my NGO. So that allowed me to do that independent study and focus during my time when I was doing also the co-op with my NGO, which was really a great experience. And I was supervised by one of the alumni from great alumni from Northeastern. And of course, Hope Lewis's class on international law was essential for me.
Right.
Yeah.
So like, did you know you were going to be starting an NGO in high school? When did all of this come together?
No, I think it was after I finished my MSW, my master's in social work. I was 26. And I wasn't really thinking, no, in high school, especially in France. So I grew up in France. There, I went to a bilingual school that was very open and created a lot of initiatives, maybe less than some American high schools. But no, I don't think I was at that point already thinking of doing that. But after my MSW, I knew, and it was great to be able to open up the organization while in law school and being supported by my friends and my professors, and I had that level of support. And I extended another year with the Heller School of Social Policy, which was a great dual degree to carry out.
That's fantastic. Did you always want to work with young people?
When I started the NGO, for sure, because that was my inspiration initially with my co-founders, was that youth have all the unlimited potential and all the possibilities in front of them to develop. And I mean, just like, you know, any age, but clearly working with youth is extremely exciting, and a way to start young, to, as you said in the beginning, transform life pathways.
Yeah, which you're absolutely doing. Talk about Madeira a little bit and how that has evolved and how you split your time, or how you've sort of made that more of a focus now.
Yeah, so basically, for the past 9 years in France, when we started the NGO, when I opened up the NGO here in France, um, over the years, I found ways. At one point, I was a salaried personnel at the NGO, and then it was becoming not redundant, but I kind of saw, like I explained before, when I was between the law school and Calais and UNHCR and doing my NGO, I actually tend to love doing a lot of different projects. There's a word in French. I don't know if there's a word in English, but the word in French is slasheuse. So you like slash, and you do like
Okay.
you
Yeah.
call it like you do a lot of different projects.
Well, I'm thinking of you as a juggler.
Yeah, I think I would, my whole family would say that to you, and my husband, and my daughter doesn't understand yet, but
She will.
she will. And so I discovered that it's interesting to also have the consultancy approach, where I kind of brought my services to different NGOs as well. And I discovered that for the first time when I was recruited at the Organisation Internationale de la Francophonie, and they asked me to kind of organize their youth forum in Geneva for a conference at the United Nations. And so I organized that for them, kind of using all my skill sets that I had acquired, and I saw that it was interesting for a lot of other NGOs as well. So for the last 4 or 5 years, I've been doing that while teaching as well, notably topics on social entrepreneurship and international development. And in the past year and a half, I discovered a really cool NGO that recruited me initially, that I was interested by my social entrepreneurship casket, and they asked me to develop their project in France. So Madeira is an NGO that focused on rural development and refugee integration exclusively in Afghanistan since 1988. And because of security reasons that already existed back in 2018, well, for a while, but even more so internally speaking, as well as financial difficulties because of the pullout of different funders on the EU level, at least. In 2018, decided to close their operations, and fully were able to do so in 2019, and then deploy kind of strategically their new plan of action with my help in the beginning as a consultant, to open up their new operations only in France, using kind of what everything that they had done and in their inspiration, kind of in this type of entrepreneurial project, and asked me to kind of pilot that for them. And I've been enjoying it even more so when all of a sudden kind of the project became even more interlinked with Yes Academia, because a realization that a part of at least integration of asylum seekers and refugees can pass through clearly all these issues that YAKA deals with, which is exploration of self-development and leadership skills and global competencies to be able to operate and find jobs, and soft skills as well that are necessary to fully develop in society. So the more that we created projects with YAKA, the more excited I got. And so I started kind of really working full-time on Madeira, and still juggle. But Madeira is a super interesting project focused on integration of refugees in France, a lot who are from Afghanistan, not only because of Madeira's history, but also because of the numbers of asylum seekers from Afghanistan and France, which are the highest from
Right.
Afghanistan. And so it's a challenging project, and the point is to also find opportunities for them in rural areas. So right now, as you can see, a great blue sky in Brittany, in Bretagne, in an eco village here, and with two refugees from Afghanistan who are, and we're trying to find the housing and job opportunities for them. So it's an example of what we do with Madeira.
So important, and especially right now, because there
Yeah.
has been such an influx of refugees in all different countries, but that's so important. And I can see why you'd want to focus your time and energies on that a little bit right now.
Yeah, and it's bringing me back to with when I was doing my co-ops at UNHCR. One of my other co-ops, as I said, was in Calais, but I also worked with the Northeastern Alumni at UNHCR in DC. So I
Oh,
really, these refugee issues are really close to my heart as well.
yes, and definitely global.
Mm.
So say there was a student at Northeastern right now who was interested in starting an NGO. What would be some of your advice for them about how they could get started doing that? What would maybe some of their co-ops need to look like, etc.? I know it's hard to generalize, but
And I hope, I don't know if you take the answers of some of the participants of the call, but I'm sure Alex can be a nice a witness on this, because so Alex did her co-op, one of her co-ops with Yes Akademia, and now is heading her own nonprofit. So Alex, don't hesitate after. But I would say kind of like what Alex did, kind of try to maybe find social, and there, I know there's a lot of social entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs out there. Even when I was doing one of my co-ops and supervised by a former alumni who himself is an entrepreneur. And so kind of finding those types of profiles is great to do if as a student at Northeastern, at least one of your co-ops, so that you kind of get to see the lifestyle as well, and how we all juggle. I'm not the only one who juggles. I think a lot of entrepreneurs do so. And I would recommend that. And of course, doing a market analysis to see kind of what's out there. When I did my independent study with Professor Schaefer, that allowed me also to delve into exploring the different legal statuses of NGOs, and kind of understanding what best status would correspond, and the types of partnerships as well. So kind of exploring that throughout your Northeastern experience, giving yourself time to see what's out there, whether you want to create something totally from scratch or kind of join hands, or like what I'm doing here with Madeira, going inside an already existing project, and then kind of creating your own, kind of what I said, the term before, which is starting to get more and more known, but as an intrapreneur inside an organization, which can also give you experience.
that's a new word for me. So I'm learning something. Could you talk a little bit about your National Order of Merit Award, and what was that like, and how did that come about?
What was that like? Good question, because I haven't yet organized the ceremony, and I think I see my parents on the call, and who put pressure on me all the time to organize. So basically,
Oh,
when you get the order, it's kind of up to you to number one, pay for your medal, okay, and then organize the ceremony, and then three, choose who will give you the award. So I haven't yet organized it, because I found this out back in January, and it was still kind of, with COVID and everything, quite complicated to organize these types of events. And furthermore, what I would like to do is to combine it with a graduation ceremony at of the youth at YAKA. So the attention is not only on me, and not for number one, and number two is that the youth are really also spotlighted, and so that I can optimize whoever I choose. Oh, well, maybe one day someone will see this video that's recorded and share it with her. But I would love for Angélique Kidjo, who's a famous singer, to give me the medal, but I haven't yet been able to get her contact info. But if she's able to give it to me, then she can also do a little concert, and the youth would be able to benefit from that. It would be amazing. So I'll share with you more how the ceremony will happen, hopefully in the near future. But it was a surprise when I received it, because I think it's quite uncommon I'm 39 years old, and as a woman, I think they're trying to make more efforts as well, to give it to women and younger people who are really engaged. Notably, when I received in January 2021, they really recognized a lot of people engaged with COVID, and finding alternative solutions. So I'm part of that promotion.
Well, it's a huge deal and congratulations. And if you need
Yeah.
any help with your event planning, let me know because I do a little bit of that on the side
I
too.
see. Oh my God, I'm totally gonna, yep.
Um, talk about your work with women and women's empowerment that was mentioned in your bio, and that's kind of near and dear to me, as you know, with the Brown Forum, which was formerly known as Women in the Law. But talk about that for a minute.
For my involvement with with women leadership, I mean, it's natural to kind of mentor and have been mentored as well, continue to be mentored by powerful women, and including my mom and my sister. Shout out. So I mean, it's extremely important to kind of be mentored as entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, but maybe anyone, of course, and to giving back as well. So that for me is really key for all sorts of personal developments, whether women or not. But I know it's really important for women development, and I've been involved with that for many years.
Wonderful. What do you remember most about your time in Boston?
Boston, the sun like this, because the sun is not always out like this in Paris for sure. It's always gray usually. And so Boston for me is I love the weather, even if it was super cold. I loved biking. I loved I love the city. I went to undergrad in Boston, in Cambridge, at Harvard, and so I love Boston. But my best moments were with my friends, and kind of like I said in the beginning, how I opened up the NGO, and while at Northeastern Law School, was by finding a charter school that was 5 minutes with one charter school, starting with one charter school 5 minutes away walking distance from our law school, and doing the workshops there. And then I found another charter school behind our law school, and so just kind of always being around the law school, and it's so beautiful and I miss it a lot.
We hope you get back at some point. So we'll make sure we see you. So you may not have a lot of free time, but one of my other questions was, what do you do in your free time? I know you travel a lot for work, so I don't know if you have time to travel, but what other places in the world do you love? And what else do you do when you have a moment or two?
Well, I would have to say family. In terms, I mean, a 3.5-year-old, you can imagine,
Yes,
is
a lot.
is a lot, and so my free time, I would say I'm with my family and friends, and taking care of my daughter, and because it's true that I combined all my kind of my passions with my job, and so yes, I love to travel, but I'm also able to travel with my jobs, and so like right now.
Yes.
And so yeah, the free time that I have outside of my passionate jobs are with my family and friends.
Wonderful. Um, you may not have thought this far in advance, but what do you see yourself doing in 10 years? More of the same? Do you have other aspirations? Tell us about Sarah in 2031.
That's a lot. Well, first, I hope to really. It's been since 2007 that I've kind of headed up this NGO, and so at least for in 2027, I hope that the NGO will be really stabilized, and I won't have you know, I won't be I won't be presiding anymore. Some youth alumni will. That's professionally speaking, YAKA wise, and otherwise in myself, I still see myself kind of being a slasheuse, probably, because I don't see how you can kind of get rid of this. It could seem, daunting for some, but maybe exciting and tempting for others. And I'm very satisfied with this lifestyle. I hope to be continuing to impact in the lives of many youth and marginalized populations in France. And I hope to be able to get to Afghanistan too, because so far, well, it's only been a year and a half, but of course, with the recent events, it's even more complicated. But I hope to be able to work in those regions, and one day I hope to be living in Senegal as well with my family.
Oh, wonderful. So my last question, and then we'll open up for Q&A, is do you have a mission statement or creed that you live by?
Give me a couple minutes.
Or a way that you frame your life.
A way that I frame my life. Right now I'm thinking of a quote from Rumi about empathy. That's a really even that's key in talking in one language to be able to really communicate. That's for me, empathy is key. So that's what I kind of live by.
Wonderful. Is there anything else you want to share before we open it up for Q&A?
No, the Northeastern Law School really I hold dear to my heart, and we need to connect because I know there's amazing alumni like Alex who's online and others that I mentioned, and it would be great to kind of, I know you organize all the alumni events, but to kind of have a focus on those who are like global citizens engaged on social justice issues. It would be neat.
Well, we're really, really proud of you, just so you know, and you've already accomplished an enormous amount of things. And your work is really important. So just wanted to say that. So this has been a really rewarding conversation today, and we're just really proud of all you're doing.
Thanks, Mielle.
Yeah. So we would love to open it up for Q&A. Please unmute yourself and ask a question or two. We also welcome family support if there's some family. Alex is commenting, it would be great to have a global focused event for people to connect. Please don't be shy though. This is your chance to ask a question or two.
I'll take you up on that, Mielle. Hey, I'm Dan Jackson, Sarah. I direct the New Law Lab. We were just getting started when you graduated. So we just launched in spring of 2013. So I'm sorry we didn't get the chance to work with you. We're the Innovation Laboratory. One of the projects I have underway with other academics around the world is to build a model syllabus for law school courses in social entrepreneurship, social innovation, and change making. And so I'm curious, with all due respect to our fabulous curriculum here at the School of Law, what is missing from US law school traditional legal education that you think needs to be taught so that more students can become social entrepreneurs, social innovators, and change makers going forward?
Well, it's good to know you guys are doing that, and I was involved with Fergie, but I didn't know you had that innovation lab. That's amazing. I wonder if Alex, you knew about them. I mean, what works is kind of what you guys already do in terms of the co-ops and even the labs. I was in the poverty lab while at NUSL, so like real live partnerships for social entrepreneurs, and even fellowships that kind of, well, I know NUSL also had fellowships, but maybe fellowships that allow kind of initial funding or would be interesting. But I mean, for me, you guys are so innovative already. It's kind of from other international law schools that I've seen, or law schools in other countries, you're kind of at the top still in what you're doing. So I would just pursue what you're doing and kind of add the partnerships that you think are necessary, individualizing them based on the profiles of the students that you have and that you can attract, continuing to open doors for the co-op experiences to all of us out there. And yeah, really honing in on the partnerships.
Awesome, thank you. And thank you also for just taking time out of your busy day to share all this good stuff with us. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure, thanks.
Yeah, you'd be a great co-op spot.
Oh yeah, I mean, we accept Madeira and YAKA.
Right. Does someone else have a question for Sarah? Well, we won't put you on the spot, but Sarah, it has been an absolute pleasure to be with you today. I know we are incredibly busy, as you have stated, with your multiple roles. So we're so gracious. I'm glad our Wi-Fi situation worked out and you had a little bit of assistance, but thank you for being with us. Thank you for all you're doing. Thank you for being a fantastic role model for Northeastern University School of Law. And please do stay in touch, and we'll work on connecting some global folks with you. You're doing important work, and we remain very proud of you here in Boston. So thank you for all you're doing.
Thank you for everything you guys have given me, and I hope to stay involved and mentor, you know, give any types of tips to your current students or alumni.
Wonderful. Well, have a fantastic rest of your evening, and
Thank you.
we'll stay in touch.
À bientôt.
A bientôt. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Thanks everybody for joining us. We'll see you again in a few weeks.